What's up, guys? I hope everybody had a wonderful Pokemon day. We had an absolute blast. Me and the kids went to a local card shop and picked up the stamped Sylveon, which was cool, and had a lot of fun. And they also threw in a couple of extra cards, which was pretty cool. So this one's from the World Championships 2024, and then this one was from the Illustration Contest 2024. So those are some pretty sweet pickups. And but that's not what we're here for today. So what we're here for today, we're going to sell our collection. And with prices being what they are, who wouldn't? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here in a minute. But first, I just kind of wanted to break this thing out because this was, I've been collecting. Let me rephrase it. I started collecting a long time ago. Like, I picked this up and slid it into this binder. And I don't even remember when it was. It was sometime after I had started collecting, and there's nothing like terribly impressive in this binder anymore. At one point in time, I had like a foil Charizard. It wasn't from the first edition or shadowless or any of that stuff. It was like a couple series in, but when I started collecting, it was basically Fossil and Jungle was what was out, and that was a blast. Ripping those packs was an absolute blast. Seeing what they go for now blows my mind, but it's like it's 20 something years later, so I understand that as well too. So somewhere in the middle of my 20s, I decided to sell like this stack. I'll call it a stack because it wasn't like a huge collection. We didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid, so I had a stack like this of Pokemon cards from whenever I did get to open packs way back in the day, and I had several hollows and whatnot. But whenever in the middle of life, this is before I had kids, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sell these things on Craigslist. And I did, and I regret it every single day, but I digress. What this is about is selling our main collection. Before we get to that, I'm going to show you a couple things. So I started collecting again when 151 came out, and when I was a kid, we didn't have the money to build an entire set of Pokemon. As an adult, you figure those things out. So we started ripping 151 packs, and I thought, let's build an actual master set. And I started looking into that, and we did. We built an entire master set for 151, which there may be some of these like actually missing at the moment because we have a couple that are out for grading. So when I decided that we were going to build a master set, my kids are twins. I had to go, well, I guess I'm building two master sets. So it was twice as expensive, but we were pulling a lot of duplicates and it really wasn't that bad. And I really didn't mind. So we pulled the majority of these, and then we got to the very end of it. And I basically was like, okay, we're just going to have to purchase a lot of the ones that we can't seem to pull. And the Charizards, there's a whole story behind that I won't get in too far into. But it was basically, we finally broke down and bought a Charizard, and then my son pulled a Charizard. And then later on, we ended up pulling another Charizard. So this was all this was back when this was first released. So it wasn't, the prices were like normal. They were like MSRP. We were paying like $50 for like an ETB. It wasn't bad. No insanity was happening yet. And then this is my son's. So he's a little bit more into it than my daughter. She likes it, but it's like she has a different kind of like for it. On my son's set, we decided to go full on master set with all promos, and I'll just kind of skip to the back here. But this was how things went down as far as like the tracking and whatnot. So we eventually get to let me just scroll back to here because the binder's full. Trust me. As we were building these sets, I asked the kids if they wanted to do the master set with promos, and I told them it was going to be a bit more expensive. My son said yes, and my daughter was kind of like, eh. So we rolled with just doing the one set with all the promos. So we've got the Snorlax Pokemon Center and the GameStop exclusives, Pokemon Center Squirtle, all those things that are in the back here. I don't know if you can see this empty slot right now. His Charizard is actually out for grading because the prices of them went insane. So that kind of brings me back to, also we're grading the promo because the promos for the UPCs on these went insane. We had a couple of those. That's his set. We're not selling the master sets. These are for the kids for when they get older. We're not touching the master sets. They're not being sold. This is something that I figure maybe one day in life, if they ever need some money or something, then they could turn around and be like, yeah, I'll sell this set. Or if it's just actually like to the moon or something. I don't know. It's up to them. What we are selling is all the cards that we've pulled since then. We pulled a ton of stuff. I mean, it was an absolute blast. And I guess there was kind of a lesson to be learned throughout this process, because the kids started to see that we would only get about maybe 20% of the value of what we were spending when we were pulling these cards. Even once we hit chase cards and whatnot, it was still kind of ridiculous. So they started looking at it from the same angle I was looking at it, which is kind of like, it's not really worth it after a certain point. It's literally just like, when you think about it, it's literally just gambling when you're buying these packs, just to collect and try to get these big hits and whatnot. So we're gonna actually, we sent some of these out for grading. A lot of them are already gone, because I actually grabbed this footage before I let these go, just so that I would have it for this video. And I was like, you know what, let me put a video together for this so that we've got all the cards together. Now this particular card, this one was kind of cool. I do remember the video that I made on that one being pulled.
I see rainbow.
Wait.
Pikachu. Oh, I got a chase card.
No,
I pulled the chase card.
Oh my god, there's no shot.
I pulled the chase card. I pulled the chase
What
card.
just
Oh my
happened?
god!
The second one actually came from a bunch of packs from Staples, and it was like, I went to a trading card shop, was ripping them, and one of the people behind the counter said, "Can I open this one?" And they picked it up, and I said, "Sure," and it had it in it. So I literally didn't get to actually open the chase card. This one came from like a rip and shipper, right back when Prismatic came out, and you couldn't get any of this. You couldn't get any of the product. So I found some people that actually had like decent prices, which was kind of insane to me. This one is my favorite out of all of them. This is the only card that I've actually ever had graded. It came back at 10. It's a Bubble Mew. It was not like $1,000 when this all happened. Like, I think the card raw was like $100, $150, and it turned into it was like a 10 was like $200, maybe $300, and then it doubled to $600, and then it went up again to $1,000, and like that, it blew my mind. We actually have a second one out for grading. This one is because we started open terrestrial, because my son wanted to pick up the Espeon from the set, and I don't know that we're gonna let these go or not. He wants to have a display with those two cards and the Espeon, and I'm kind of like, okay, you know, fair enough. Out of what we're getting rid of, we can keep a couple back like that. We also like opening One Piece. This one came from a rip and ship from OP10. The boxes were like $50. It was like, I mean, it's so much cheaper to rip One Piece and some of these other series out there, but that was like at the time it was like the second best card in the set. So as you can see, we kept the boxes from almost everything we ripped. It's kind of insane how much stuff ended up on this shelf, and it's definitely time to start liquidating a lot of it. So let's slide into our rant part of the video. I'm just going to talk about my current thoughts on the market and how things are going. So I decided I was going to rip something on this video just for the sake of, and kind of give an unpopular opinion more than likely, but it's my opinion nonetheless. So I found this the other day at Dollar General for $40, and you know, when it comes to sealed product, Dollar Generals are absolutely fantastic to find it in. These things right now are going for like $66 market, and I could probably turn around and just sell this thing like instantly if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not a sealed collector. We've always just opened what we got, and that's what we enjoy. We enjoy ripping pack. So Prismatic broke me, like, mentally. I don't understand how we go from $50 ETBs, which was 151 surging Sparks, etc., to $150 on release. Like, the market, there was no market yet. They hadn't come out. It makes me mental whenever I think about that. These things launched at $150 market, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I think it broke. I think it killed the hobby for a lot of people. Is kind of the big thing. I know it did for us. Like, it going from $50 ETBs to $150 instantly out of the gate didn't make it. It made no rational sense. Like, why are they charging this price? How can they charge this price out of the gate? So when the release happened, we were looking for places that were selling it for a decent price. So basically we went to GameStop, and we went to like one of the local stores here who was saying that they were going to sell it for retail, which in the end, they were going to do a limit. They were doing one per customer, but then when they saw what the market price was, they jacked it up. It was $90. So that's, which, I mean, like, honestly, it wasn't $90 was like a deal, considering it, people were like trying to charge $150 on day one. Then it kind of leveled out at $120, but the thing about it was the $120 is still too much for an ETB that just launched. So I started thinking about it. What kind of laws are there in place that like combat things like this? Are there really any laws in place to combat things like this? And I think I just gave this away with the code card. And so I started looking at like the scalping laws, because let's look at it this way. There's 4 prices basically. There's the price that the distributors are giving it to the retailers. Then the retailers who should technically be selling it for MSRP or roundabout. And then there's market price. And then there's scalping prices, which is, I would consider anything above market. And see, Pokemon is different than, say, sports cards, for example. Pikachu isn't going to go out and throw 70 passes for 3,000 yards or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a sports card guy, so I really don't know. But I understand that with sports cards, it depends on how the player performs is what kind of drives the value of those cards. So with Pokemon, though, there is none of that. And the way that I look at that, I don't know if this is a good one or not. It's kind of a cool looking card, though. So with Pokemon, let's talk about Anna V-Star double hit. But with Pokemon, it's kind of like this. There's a lot of rip and shippers out there, and they're businesses, and I get that. But also, when it comes to the prices that they have to charge, there's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of goes into that. And it's basically like you have to be brick and mortar in order to get like distribution. So I feel like, for one thing, distribution should be allowed to people that are creating businesses, like rip and shippers. Those guys should be able to get distro, and distro shouldn't be able to charge more than a certain amount of money for the product so that they can be sold at MSRP. Then I also feel like there needs to be rules and regulations around this, to the point where it's basically like you can't sell any current set for like 1 year for anything over MSRP. Let me rephrase that. Okay, so here's what I think. I think with the new sets that come out, there should be like a restriction for like 1 year that it can't be sold over MSRP without it being considered scalping. And I know that the scalping laws kind of apply to tickets, and it's just one of those things where it's like it doesn't encompass everything. But we're all pretty much aware of what scalping is. And like, if you're a collector, like these rip and ship guys, a lot of them are collectors, and they're selling old sets and whatnot. And they're going out there and they're procuring this stuff for certain prices, and they can't turn around and sell that for a higher amount without making some money. Like if you're a collector, Machamp, with the sets that are older, it makes sense that they should be sold for more. But the new sets are causing chaos, and that's why we've got people fighting in Costco, because they know they can walk in, buy these things for $50, $60, turn around, flip them for $120 instantly to make that money. They're not interested in the hobby. They're not interested in anything but making that money. And you can't really blame them either, because it's so insane. But it also makes you aware that the people that are actually interested in the hobby, they can't get the product because that's just selling that fast, which is absurd. Like the new product should always be available. Pokemon should be printing enough to meet the demands. They should make sure that their distributors are getting it for a fair price, so that the distributor, and they should be making sure that the distributors are charging a set amount to the retailers so that they can make a set amount. And I'm including rip and shippers in that equation because I know those guys have worked hard to make their businesses and whatnot. So I'm not saying whatnot the platform, but that's a whole other thing. Rip and ships are kind of like under fire right now, and like kind of rightfully so because of all the sketchiness that's going on with them. There's a ton of videos out there on that stuff, but I digress on that point too because that's a whole rabbit hole we can go down. I'm not going to go down. But my point is this: there should be a limitation on how long a set has to be sold at MSRP before it switches over to a like a market price. Because there's like with when it comes to like prismatic, there is no market. Like when it comes to any of the Pokemon sets, there's no market when it hasn't come out. It hasn't come out yet. It doesn't make any sense for these sets to be coming out with a market value 3 times the amount of MSRP. Makes no rational sense. So that's kind of that's my rant for as far as Pokemon goes. I feel like there should be a limitation, 1 year, somewhere in that realm, MSRP, and then after that it goes up. It's considered a collection, and then it's sold. You can sell it for market value or more. That's kind of where I stand on that front, and I feel like that would solve a lot of the problems that are out there. But as far as our set, we've sold the majority of what we've collected since 151's come out, and that's basically where we're gonna stay on that front. Like when it comes to like Journey Beyond, we're not even really looking at that one at the moment because it's kind of like we know it's probably going to be a repeat of Prismatic. So that's my rant for the day. I hope you guys have good pulls out there. I hope you had fun on Pokemon Day. Like and subscribe. You never know what we might be doing next. We might be doing more pulls, car stuff, any of that. And yeah, thanks for watching.